Shalom Aleichem. Mishnah Yomi is holding in Moed Katan, chapter 2, Mishnah Dalet. And we are pre-recording for Shabbos and Shmini Atzeret, as we discussed in the Mishnayot Sukkah. Shmini Atzeret is in some ways a continuation of Sukkot, and in some ways an independent holiday. In Israel, we already celebrate Simchat Torah, and in Chutz La'aretz, you can go ahead and celebrate Torah every day, as we do, thank God, with the Mishnah, with everything we do. But we also have Simchat Torah tomorrow on the second day, Yom Tov, and today we sit in the sukkah without a bracha. So I'm sitting in my sukkah without a bracha, but at least we have the Mishnah Yomi going. Good, chapter 2, Mishnah Dalet. Ein lochin botim, we don't buy houses, avodim, servants, uvhema, or animals on haMoed, ela letzorech haMoed, unless he needs them on the Moed. He came to Jerusalem to be Ole Regel, and he found a house on sale. He needs somewhere to stay anyway. Go ahead and buy a house in Jerusalem. We should all be so zoche. We should all have the merit to do so. And now the Mishnah brings another leniency that we haven't seen yet, but it's very important. Ole tzorech hamocher, or if the seller needs to do so. If the seller doesn't have money for the meats and the wine and the expenses of the holiday, you're allowed to buy it from him, even something you don't really need on haMoed. Mocher she'ein lo mo yochel. A seller who doesn't have what to eat for the needs of the holiday can get expensive. You understand, all the meats. And in the times of the temple, all the sacrificial offerings. So even if the buyer doesn't necessarily need it this week, if the seller needs to sell to get money for the holiday, that is allowed. And the Mefarshim say the examples given, a house or servants or animals, these things are sold publicly. So even things sold publicly could be sold when there's a real need for the holiday. So certainly things that are sold privately or in a less public manner, you're not at an auction. Mishnah continues, Ein mefanin l'bayit. We don't move things from one house to another, like you don't get a moving truck on haMoed. But you could take things out to your chatzar. It's not such a tircha, not such an effort. And the Mishnah adds, Ein mevi'in kelim mebeit ha'uman. We don't bring items home from the craftsmen. So, for example, you brought something into a shop to repair before haMoed, before Yom Tov, and he fixed it. Maybe he needed the money for Yom Tov expenses, understandably. So you couldn't bring it back. There's a tircha, or it also looks like you gave it to him during haMoed to work on. But if you're worried they might get stolen or vandalized in that shop, for instance, the repair shop was in downtown Baltimore. So so you could go to the shop and take them out to a chatzar, a courtyard where they'll be protected, somewhere where that it's safe, security system, whatever it is, not downtown Baltimore. Let's go on to Mishnah. Hey, mechofin et kitziot b'kosh. You can cover the cut ones, this refers to cut figs, with straw. Now what they would do is they would cut figs and leave them out in the sun to dry. But if it might start to rain, as sometimes Sukkot is sort of the beginning of the rainy season, as we've seen in Masechet Tainit, the discussion of when rain would normally fall. So you could cover it with straw to keep the moisture off so the figs will dry correctly. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ein me'obin. You don't make a thick pile of figs. If you pile them up, then the top figs might get moist from the rain and the dew, but the bottom figs will be protected. That's a big tircha to make a big pile of figs. You have to really give a fig about your figs to do so. Mochrei feirot, those who sell produce, kesut v'kelim, and clothing and utensils, mochrin bitzina. They can sell them privately letzorech moed, for people who need things on the holiday. So haMoed is not really a time to go on a shopping spree, but if you need something for the Moed, you needed a new coat, you need a bigger soup pot, that would be okay. Now, bitzina means they don't really open the doors wide to their Rishus Rabim, maybe keep one door shut, don't advertise, things like this. The Mishnah continues, Hatzayodin, the trappers, Hadashoshot, the grinders, they grind grain commercially, that's their job. Hagrosot, they grind beans. Osin bitzina letzorech haMoed, they can do their work privately, but again, they shouldn't be advertising, they shouldn't be doing it right in front of Rishus Harabim, because they're really working on large quantities, so if somebody's grinding 100 pounds of beans, it looks like they're doing it not for 10 different customers, perhaps, but for the use after haMoed, which would not be allowed. These professionals, they were machmir. Their custom was to be stringent and not to do work on haMoed unless it was, of course, really needed for what to eat. But in general, they tried not to do work on Moed because it was very public, loud activity to be grinding or setting out a lot of traps. People knew about it, so they tried to avoid work on haMoed as much as possible. Yashar kochachem, be well, a good Shabbos, a Shmini Hag Atzeret Sameach, good Yontiv.